What happens to Kawhi Leonard this offseason?
Oof.
He's definitely going to get traded.
I can't see him in a Spurs uniform next year. That's just me.
Unless Pop works some sort of match. Because, LaMarcus Aldridge wanted to leave, and look at him now. He's the star of the team.
He averaged 20 points per game in the playoffs.
But I don't see Kawhi Leonard.
I think Kawhi goes to the Spurs, and I think they talk things out. And I think he plays his last year as a Spur. I mean, for them to trade a top 2, top 3 player in the middle of his prime, just
Definitely
for a silly reason, would be very unlike the Spurs, and I don't feel like they do that. But in terms of free agency
isn't
year,
that what the Cavs did with Kyrie though?
They did.
Kyrie
Kyrie says,
Kawhi,
"I want to leave." Kawhi says, "My body's not healthy. I'm not going to play until I'm fully healthy."
That's just because
and Kyrie Irving. Okay, actually, Kyrie Irving and Kawhi Leonard are very similar because Kyrie Irving listens to his dad for any advice. Kawhi Leonard also has his group, as they call it, as Greg Popovich calls it. Like, when his group says he'll be ready to play, that's when he'll play. That's the similarity between Kyrie Irving and Kawhi Leonard.
Where do you think, if he does leave the Spurs, where do you guys think he'd end up?
I don't know where he ends up.
Because the trade price would have to be really high.
It'd have to be...
I think the only team that has the assets to really put in a good, bid for him is Boston.
Because, trade Kyrie Irving, or Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. You could trade pretty much all of your young pieces to try to entice San Antonio.
They wouldn't get rid of Jason Tatum after 1 year where he already, he wasn't even projected as a starter.
No, we're just saying.
You do have
I'm just saying,
and you have Terry Rozier as a point guard.
The Sixers might have the right pieces depending on how much the Spurs value the pieces that the 76ers
I don't think...
have.
Okay. I got a better one for
someone like Markelle Fultz.
I got a better one for you. You know who's a better fit in Philadelphia?
Who?
Paul George.
But he's not...
He wouldn't go
He'll
back
be a
to
free agent.
He'd stay in the
probably
West.
going to go to LA.
Paul George would be a free
Lakers
agent.
Bound.
I personally believe...
Paul George, I think he's made it very clear that he wants to be a Laker.
Yeah.
Time and time again, he's made
Paul
it very
George
clear.
has...
That's the dream, dude. Is the Lakers.
Yes, he had a good season, in Oklahoma City, but he doesn't want to stay there.
Here's what I believe about Paul George. I believe... We know he was a number 1 option in Indiana. But I personally believe Paul George prefers being the off-ball number 2 option and playing with a good point guard. If he goes to Philadelphia, he can get his buckets in his spots where he wants to and spot up and shoot where he wants to instead of being the one that has to initiate everything, being the number 1 option. I think that's what Paul George prefers.
If he went to Philadelphia, he'd be on more of a complete team than he would be on more,
and he'd win more too. So,
but I don't think right at this point in Paul George's career he's worried about winning a championship as much as he is getting paid out.
Even if you do, if you do go to the Lakers, you're not gonna exactly win most games.
You're not gonna win.
But you're still gonna have a decent team.
Yeah.
Even if you go to the Lakers, both of them are good options.
Yeah.
Both of them are good options.
And especially if Isaiah Thomas can recover and kind of get back into what he was, you have Isaiah Thomas, Lonzo Ball, and him.
I don't think Magic Johnson likes Isaiah Thomas though. I think Magic Johnson's made it clear that he's going with Lonzo Ball no matter who he can get.
Oh yeah, I think that's true without.
So then, what happens to Isaiah Thomas this summer? Does he get traded again?
I feel so bad.
I feel bad too because
he's jumped around so much.
He was set up to make a big paycheck until he got traded. If Kyrie Irving never asked for a trade, Isaiah Thomas is still averaging 30 points a game for Boston.
Yeah, without a doubt.
So it's kind of crazy how that pretty much controlled everything about Isaiah Thomas' career, but. I don't feel like he has a good shot in Los Angeles because I feel like they're totally focused on Ingram. I don't know what they're doing with Julius Randle. I've heard a ton of things like, they're going to try to trade Julius Randle. They don't need Julius Randle, but he's still a good young player. He's been up and down too. And Kyle Kuzma as well. I feel like they have a good young core. Not good enough to win right now, but if you put
if you had Paul George for that team, you could win in 5 years. You have Lonzo Ball. Exactly. Paul George can move up to the 2. Brandon Ingram at the 3, Kuzma at the 4, and Julius Randle at the 5 if they decide to keep him.
Or Brook Lopez if they.
Or you could end up getting a
Hope
player
they're
like
allowed to.
DeMarcus Cousins. They could get
never
DeMarcus
know.
Cousins.
Well, when
we
you're
don't
the
know if he's gonna
Lakers,
stay in
when you're the
New Orleans.
Lakers, you could potentially get every single player in the NBA.
Yeah,
I mean that's
exactly.
just a fact.
Them
Because,
and them and the
money,
Celtics.
Yeah, everything.
All right, this will be our closing question. Where will LeBron James be playing in the 2018-19 season?
I mean, it depends what he wants to do. If he wants to, I don't
All right,
know.
How about this?
I don't know if
assume that
he leaves the Cavs.
No, how about this? Assume that the Cavs, because it's probably going to happen, Cavs beat the Celtics, they go to the finals, they'll either face Houston or Golden State.
And they lose. That's the most ideal. If LeBron wins, he stays, but that's just not going to happen. You can't see that anytime. I just don't see it. I think LeBron, he's going to look at a team like Philadelphia, he's going to look at a team like Houston, and he's going to be like, look, the only way I'm going to beat a team like Golden State Warriors is to join a super team with the star power and the players to defend them, to match their offense, and to just be able to play them. And I think there are two teams in the NBA that can currently do that, and that's the Houston Rockets, and that's the Philadelphia 76ers.
I don't know.
Unless he just goes for broke and decides to get a minimum contract and join the Celtics, which I don't think he would ever do because he hates the Celtics.
He would, he'd never go to Boston. Rawley,
I feel like LeBron James, as much as he loves to win, LeBron James also cares about the LeBron James brand. And I think that's similar to Paul George because I feel like Paul George's brand will be elevated if he goes to Los Angeles. But for the brand, the best thing for LeBron James to do would be stay in Cleveland because
he's already done this once with Miami, and a whole drama.
Honestly,
really
I think it would hurt
only hindered him.
In his prime, he's good right now. You could argue that he's in his prime. For him in his prime to leave would be like him leaving 2.0, which I think he would get criticism for, but not as much as Kevin Durant, not as much as the first time he left. But he would still get a fair amount of criticism for leaving.
I don't think that would hurt his because how much did him leaving to go to Miami really hurt his
That was
brand
different though.
in the long run?
He made it all dramatic with
Yes,
the decision.
but that if anything that kind of helped his brand.
Well, I mean, he added more hype to his brand. Yeah.
He's like, we're finally going to win, and he said some things he probably shouldn't have said in that time, like, oh, we're gonna win like 10 championships or whatever. Obviously,
6,
yeah,
7, not 8. Yeah,
but even though he knew the reason he left is because it's like, oh yeah, Dwayne Wade's getting old. Like that's the reason he left. He didn't take that into account.
And then Wade came with them to Cleveland later on, but.
And they should have held on to him because he did.
Dwayne Wade's a good playoff.
They should have held. Yeah, playoff.
He would have come off the bench and.
I think the
scored 20.
Cavs got impatient. They were like, "Well, we're not winning right now."
They were set up to be a playoff.
Derrick Rose.
You see so many teams.
Derrick Rose did well.
Many teams.
Wade did well. Yeah.
You see so many teams now that are being built to just play like this team has enough star power to make the playoffs no matter what, even if it's the 7th, 8th, or because you look at the Cavs realistically, they're probably going to get the 4th or 5th seed if they kept the roster. No matter what they did, they were probably going to get 4th or 5th seed, which obviously you want the 1st seed because you get the home advantage. But if you look at that team, you've got very good playoff players in Derrick Rose. You've got a good playoff player in LeBron James, obviously. Dwayne Wade. Jay Crowder can do stuff in the playoffs. Isaiah Thomas, if he got his feet back, could have done a lot. Because I think the number one thing Isaiah Thomas needs to be successful is longevity.
Right, health, for sure.
It's longevity. Because I think that's why he was so successful in Boston. He had over a year to become the player who can score 30 points in a game.
LeBron to Philly, I feel like, in terms of player fit, would be the best option. For the brand, not the best option, but for the player fit, would be the best option because LeBron James could legitimately average 35 points a game if Ben Simmons was feeding him the ball. He had Joel Embiid also taking some attention from him. I feel like he could get to his spots and definitely score whenever he can already score whenever he wants to, but he would score with ease if he was on Philadelphia. Similar to how Kevin Durant scores with ease on Golden State. But that's his best option as fit. But I think he stays in Cleveland just to build the brand that he has in Cleveland.
I've
And
gotta
they don't have
say-
much flexibility this offseason, but if they could acquire a few more good players, I think they could be
So
better.
LeBron to Cleveland for Rawley, and LeBron travels elsewhere for Freddie.